Red Bull just hit a wall that could derail their entire 2026 championship plan, and it's not coming from the track. What if I told you the FIA has found something inside the RB Ford hybrid engine that could make Red Bull's power unit technically illegal? In this video, you're going to discover the hidden clause, the suspicious performance spike, and the critical gray area that could force Red Bull back to the drawing board with just months to go. Because if this investigation leads to sanctions or worse, Red Bull's grip on the future of Formula One may slip right through their fingers, and no one inside Milton Keynes seems ready for what's coming. In Formula One, innovation lives on the edge of regulation. But every once in a while, a team crosses the line whether they know it or not. And that's exactly what might be happening at Red Bull. According to multiple technical insiders and leaks from teams close to the FIA, Red Bull's 2026 RB Ford power unit is now under formal investigation for what's being described as a functional gray area. This isn't a minor infringement. This is a deep structural question about whether Red Bull's energy recovery system is using an interpretation loophole to deliver power output that's technically legal, but strategically unfair. The FIA has launched preliminary inquiries. And depending on what they find, this could trigger not just sanctions but a rewrite of the power unit compliance rules themselves. The heart of the issue lies within Red Bull Powertrain's integration of the MGU-K and battery storage system. The 2026 regulations are designed to emphasize sustainable hybrid deployment, creating a near-equal split between internal combustion and electric propulsion. But Red Bull's design, according to sources with access to simulation data, appears to use a timing offset between harvesting and deployment phases, effectively delivering more electric torque in qualifying mode than competitors believe is possible within the spirit of the rules. Technically, it might be legal. But the FIA is now questioning whether it breaches the regulation's intent. And if that's proven true, Red Bull could be ordered to reconfigure their entire ERS setup within a matter of months. This comes at the worst possible time. Red Bull has invested tens of millions into its power unit division, building an entire facility to become self-reliant after Honda's departure. The partnership with Ford was meant to guarantee competitive edge and technical innovation. But instead, it's now under the microscope. And let's be clear, when the FIA launches a technical investigation, it's not about image. It's about control. The governing body is trying to send a message: 2026 will not be another arms race of borderline legality. And if Red Bull becomes the example, it may affect how every other team approaches their final engine calibration. What makes this even more politically charged is the perception that Red Bull might be trying to circumvent the limitations by exploiting data classification rules. Rumors suggest that some aspects of their battery mapping were labeled as proprietary Ford IP, limiting how much technical detail could be disclosed to the FIA without breaching corporate NDA boundaries. That move, if confirmed, would raise huge ethical and sporting questions. Is Red Bull hiding performance behind paperwork? And more importantly, should private intellectual property clauses override sporting transparency in Formula One? Ford, for its part, has remained silent. Publicly, they've praised the collaboration. But sources inside the paddock indicate rising tensions between Red Bull's F1 engineers and Ford's corporate strategists. The American company wants credibility and innovation. But they don't want scandal. If this controversy grows, Ford may be forced to distance itself from the more aggressive engineering tactics Red Bull is known for. And that could destabilize the entire alliance, especially if the FIA starts demanding deeper disclosures, new testing procedures, or full simulation logs under threat of disqualification. Meanwhile, other teams are watching with keen interest. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Audi have all been vocal in previous technical debates, and they're unlikely to let Red Bull run unchecked if they believe there's an unfair advantage on the table. Some insiders suggest that Mercedes was the first to raise concerns after noticing anomalous data patterns during collaborative FIA workshops. Whether that's true or not, the political dominoes are already falling. If Red Bull is forced to redesign core elements of their powertrain, the performance gap could shift overnight. And that would have massive implications not just for Red Bull, but for the entire competitive hierarchy in 2026. Now here's the big question you have to ask: if the FIA rules against Red Bull, do they lose the performance edge they've been building for 2 years, or do they have a backup concept ready to deploy? Because if this investigation drags on, and if the outcome forces late-stage technical compromises, Red Bull may enter the most transformative season in F1 history with a compromised weapon. And in a sport where fractions of a second define dynasties, that's a gamble they can't afford to lose. At the center of this brewing storm is Max Verstappen, and make no mistake, this affects him more than anyone else. For all of Red Bull's dominance in recent years, Verstappen's continued success hinges on a power unit that can match his aggressive driving style. He doesn't just want a fast car, he wants predictability, deployment stability, and tactical flexibility in energy recovery. If the FIA's investigation forces Red Bull to remove their current energy optimization system, the balance of the RB22-2026 could shift in ways that limit Max's control over crucial qualifying and overtaking scenarios. And if you think Verstappen wouldn't walk away from Red Bull over a compromised engine, remember he already has performance exit clauses in his contract. This tension isn't just technical, it's existential. Max Verstappen has built his legacy on absolute confidence in his machinery. Every title win, every record-setting streak, has been predicated on Red Bull delivering the best technical package on the grid. If that trust erodes, Verstappen's entire psychological edge could be undermined. And he knows it. The 2026 season won't just be about speed, it'll be about who adapts fastest to the new hybrid era. If Red Bull starts behind the curve, even marginally, Max might start looking at Mercedes, Ferrari, or even Audi, not for loyalty, but for survival. Behind closed doors, Red Bull Racing is scrambling to protect its reputation and its performance pipeline. Engineers inside Milton Keynes are already running shadow simulations of alternative ERS configurations in case the FIA delivers an unfavorable ruling. But reworking an energy deployment model this late in development is like rewriting a symphony hours before the performance. Every calibration, every flow rate, every cooling parameter must be revalidated under race conditions. And with just one full season left before the 2026 reset, time is rapidly running out. Red Bull may say they're calm, but internally, the pressure is reaching combustion levels. Then there's the sponsor equation. Red Bull's global brand thrives on dominance, innovation, and a rebellious spirit, but never on regulatory failure. If the FIA's investigation gains traction and headlines start using words like manipulation or unfair advantage, major partners like Oracle and Ford may begin to feel the pressure from both corporate boards and the public. It's one thing to be associated with winning. It's another to be dragged into controversy. And in today's sponsorship climate, perception is everything. If Red Bull loses the narrative battle, they risk more than a ruling, they risk commercial instability. This investigation also comes with a strategic twist that few fans are talking about. If Red Bull is forced to reveal core elements of their hybrid systems to the FIA, that information may, directly or indirectly, influence the baseline understanding of rival teams. Even if there's no formal leak, the simple act of defending a system in front of a panel of engineers, some with connections across the paddock, can give competitors valuable insights into where Red Bull has found performance. So even if Red Bull survives this investigation without penalties, they may still lose their biggest advantage: secrecy. The broader context here is that 2026 isn't just another season, it's a reset of the entire Formula One power structure. With new engine suppliers, new aerodynamic limitations, and a renewed push towards sustainability, every team is gambling everything on these next 18 months. And Red Bull, who took the boldest gamble by building their own engine division from scratch, now finds itself in the middle of a regulatory minefield. If they misstep even slightly, they won't just fall behind. They could become the cautionary tale of 2026, a team that overreached just when the sport was about to evolve beyond them. So what happens next? That's the question no one at Red Bull seems ready to answer publicly. The FIA is expected to release a preliminary statement within weeks. But inside the paddock, the feeling is clear: this isn't just a minor probe. This is a line in the sand. Either Red Bull's innovation is protected as legitimate interpretation, or it's punished as an overreach. And that verdict won't just shape one car or one team. It will shape how every constructor approaches risk, creativity, and legal boundaries in the new hybrid era. If the FIA delivers a firm ruling against Red Bull, the consequences will cascade through every layer of the team's 2026 preparation. First, the power unit itself will have to undergo an immediate compliance rework. That could mean altering the energy recovery software, reshaping battery deployment cycles, or even redesigning the cooling architecture to handle different heat outputs. All of this, of course, would need to happen under immense time pressure, and that's where the risk multiplies. Because in Formula One, rushed changes lead to integration failures, unexpected reliability issues, and inconsistent track performance. In a season where the margin for error will be razor-thin, Red Bull could lose their biggest strength, operational confidence. Worse still, the political fallout could outlast the technical one. Rival teams, especially Mercedes and Ferrari, have long accused Red Bull of walking the line between innovation and manipulation. If the FIA rules that Red Bull exploited a gray area in bad faith, it would reinforce a narrative that's been building since 2021, that Red Bull will do anything to win, even if it means dancing with illegality. That perception could spark renewed tension in the F1 Commission, where teams vote on future regulations and technical directives. Red Bull may find themselves politically isolated, unable to influence future changes or defend their competitive interests. And in modern F1, political capital is as valuable as aerodynamic downforce. But what if the FIA rules in Red Bull's favor? At first glance, that would seem like a victory. But think again. A favorable ruling may trigger a backlash from rival teams, who could accuse the FIA of bias, favoritism, or regulatory weakness. These accusations, even if unfounded, would erode trust in the FIA's governance and open the door for an arms race in gray area exploitation. Suddenly, the sport wouldn't be about who's fastest, but who's cleverest at rule bending. And that outcome would damage F1's credibility with fans, sponsors, and even future manufacturers considering entry under the 2026 framework. There's also the Verstappen factor to consider. If Max begins to lose faith in the team's direction, especially if the controversy leads to performance inconsistencies, he may activate the performance clauses in his contract and begin exploring alternative futures. And let's not forget, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Audi would all welcome him with open arms. Verstappen is the face of modern Formula One. If Red Bull's political instability drives him away, it could trigger a brand collapse far more damaging than any single technical penalty. Red Bull isn't just defending a power unit, they're defending their identity. Ford, meanwhile, is in a delicate position. They joined this project to showcase innovation and performance in a new era of sustainable racing. If their name becomes tied to controversy before a single race is run, it could sour the relationship before it fully matures. Behind the scenes, Ford executives are reportedly seeking reassurances not just about technical compliance, but about how Red Bull handles pressure. If the team appears reckless or combative during this investigation, Ford's long-term commitment could quietly shift from enthusiastic partner to cautious investor. That's a shift Red Bull cannot afford, especially with such high stakes in 2026. All of this points to one unavoidable truth: this investigation isn't just a Red Bull problem, it's a Formula One reckoning. The 2026 regulations were designed to level the playing field, reduce costs, and drive innovation within clear sustainability goals. But if Red Bull's interpretation forces the FIA to draw harder lines or exposes flaws in enforcement, then the entire framework is up for debate. That means legal challenges, regulation rewrites, and another round of backroom power plays. And that, more than any one car or driver, could define what the next decade of Formula One looks like. So here's where it all lands: Red Bull is standing at a cliff's edge. They have the most aggressive development timeline, the most ambitious power unit partnership, and the most pressure to stay on top. But the same drive that brought them glory could now be pulling them toward disaster. Whether the FIA hands down a ruling of guilt or vindication, the 2026 story has already changed. And when the lights go out in Bahrain 2 seasons from now, you won't just be watching a race, you'll be watching the fallout of everything that's unfolding right now.